Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show. The Senate, the House, everybody has passed this huge bill now to avoid the government shutdown. Everything stays exactly the same, so we're not under a budget. There is no cut in spending, but we did add $296 million to the Secret Service to help make sure Donald Trump is protected and he gets the protection that he needs. We also have to pass we've also passed a bill, or, not really a bill, but we just gave another $8 billion to Ukraine in aid. So we had to pass a bill to protect Donald Trump, but we didn't have to pass a bill to give more money to Ukraine. Also, we have news that shots were actually fired at Kamala Harris's, one of her campaign offices. So thank the Lord that no one was hurt, and the investigations are ongoing right now. But it's sad that this is happening in America with both candidates. We have updates with all the news with immigration and the border. Kamala Harris has finally done an interview, and it's bad. I mean, it's so bad. It's like talking to a 2-year-old, like a 3-year-old, like my 3-year-old. That's how it's like. And I'm going to show you in just a moment. You're not going to believe it. But got a ton of breaking news tonight. Just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And just want to say thank you to all of you that are watching, to all of our members. We are growing this True Life News family, and y'all are amazing. And thank you to everybody that blesses this channel, my family, with the Super Chat donation. We are so grateful and thankful, and we are here to serve you. So remember, we are going to bring change, good, positive change. So the government just passed this huge bill. Now, it wasn't a bill. They passed a continuing resolution, so the government is not operating on a budget. Check this out with what this representative has to say.
Hi, I'm Eric Burleson, and I want to explain to you why I voted no on the continuing resolution. You see, this place is a mess. It has no restraint. The spending is out of control. We're $35 trillion in debt, and they can't pass anything with any kind of budget whatsoever. Every year, Congress is supposed to pass a budget. They're supposed to pass appropriation bills. We're supposed to pass authorization bills. But instead, we kick the can down the road, and we wait until September, till the deadline, and then instead of doing the things we're supposed to be doing, they pass a continuing resolution that gets you to Christmas, and then you get to Christmas, and then the Speaker and the President of the Senate, they all negotiated in a smoke-filled room a omnibus bill. And you know what? This is how we're $35 trillion in debt. This is why America has got a lot of systemic problems in the federal government. I will not be a part of this charade, and that's why I voted no. I'm Eric Burleson, and I'm fighting for you.
I'm so glad that he did this video so you could all see of what's actually happening, that they didn't pass a budget. The United States, we're $35 trillion in debt because they have no accountability whatsoever. Why do you think Trump wants to bring Elon Musk in and do an audit on the entire government and cut out the fat? Because American tax dollars are being wasted and nobody's held accountable. Just like he said, they pass this continuing resolution. They get to December. They pass an omnibus bill, which is basically a catch-all. Throw as much crap as you want to in there. Just keep spending the American taxpayers' dollars with no accountability. That's what they're doing. And on top of that, we've got this huge scathing report over the dang Secret Service and what actually happened at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally and at the golf course. Check this out.
Good day for the Secret Service, and that's understating it. The Senate is out with a scathing report. It's blaming the agency for multiple missteps leading up to the first assassination attempt against former President Trump. Here's perhaps the most shocking finding. An inexperienced agent that was in charge of the drone had to call a toll-free number for help after technical issues downed the device meant to surveil the rally site. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign revealing intelligence officials have briefed the former president on Iranian threats to assassinate him.
Wow.
Trump talked about that earlier.
No threat will shake me. No enemy will intimidate me. And I have I have never been more determined than I am today. If I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens.
Ooh.
That's kind of talk I like.
Wow.
Yeah, speaking the language of the maniacs, it's amazing how maniacs suddenly become sane when they know they're going to die. Look at Hezbollah. Nobody's, all their phone calls are going to voicemail right now. It is interesting, though. I never understood the insanity plea. After you commit a crime and you run from the cops, that makes you sane. Same thing here. I think it was wrong to blame the agents. They may not have been experienced, but it's the opportunity cost of the competing directives that saddles all industries. And that's why I think we ran into this problem with the Secret Service. Whether you're trying to make a profit, you're trying to make a great product, or protect a candidate, the introduction of DEI created a competing goal that was equal to the primary goal. And that was draining to the operation. You handicap the primary mission. And I think that was a profound distraction. And by the way, you're seeing it in every company, and that's why they're ditching it. It's a very sensitive subject to bring up right now, but that's what it is.
And Judge, you basically had such systemic failure that you're close to institutional collapse at the Secret Service.
You know, Dana, the truth is that in any job across this country, if you don't come up to the basic requirements of what the job requires you to do, you're going to lose your job.
100%.
There's no second chances. You don't get, I'm tired of lessons learned. I've said it a million times. You read this report and it's everything that Blumenthal said it was. It's outrageous. It's shocking. I mean, we've got, the Secret Service knew there was a guy with a rangefinder 30 minutes before. They were notified about an individual on the roof 2 minutes before, but never communicated it to the people on the stage. And the guy with the drone is on the 800 toll-free line with the manufacturer. And, you know, there's something to be said, Greg, for, you know, you want the rank and file. But I also think that whether DEI is responsible for that, you know, you get cops who apply for jobs and get jobs with police departments all over this country. They go through basic training. And once they're on the job and they can't do the job, they're gone. And, you know, so I see a difference between management and the rank and file. The management is so politicized that apparently Cheadle worked for Jill Biden before she was made the head of Secret Service. And this guy, Rowe, who's now the acting director, apparently was a Democrat staffer who worked for Pat Leahy and then worked in the Obama administration, but he was a Democrat operative.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's time we took it seriously. You've got an ex-president who was almost killed twice. I mean, that is shocking and that is embarrassing. And I guess in the end, what we have to recognize is that if we do allow someone in this country who hates this country, like the president of Iran, and we provide him Secret Service protection, and we can't provide the fundamental Secret Service protection to the president of the United States, we got a problem. I said it before, and I say it now with an exclamation at the end. Some things are so negligent, so reckless that they border on the intentional.
And Jesse, as the judge just said, Iran's president was just a few blocks away. It would seem that we would have some leverage here today.
Oops, your security detail didn't show up. Go over to 8th Avenue where the junkies and migrants live.
I was
Sorry.
there today. It's not good.
Sorry. Maybe take a subway instead of the limo. Yeah, that'd be a nice little revenge. Biden wouldn't have the brains to pull it off, though. I found some weird stuff in this report.
Okay.
The counter snipers said they heard bullets whizzing past their heads. Now, these guys are former Army. They know when bullets are flying. How are bullets flying past their head? Where'd those come from? The lead agent said, her name's Meredith, said that she was never told there was a security threat. She was never told there was an Iranian threat. But she got counter snipers for the first time. That's coincidental. And so this Meredith woman was a mess. I don't know whether she was a DEI hire. I don't know anything about this woman, but no one knew she was in charge. She never put anybody in charge of the AGR building. She never swept the AGR building. And the sniper's view of the AGR building was obstructed, and they never did anything about it. It also said they requested more resources for this rally, denied. You know, they requested these counter surveillance units. 15,000 people, outside rally, said no. Jill Biden, indoor rally event, 400 people, she got counter surveillance units. The radios weren't working, and the counter sniper saw his guys running to the roof, guns out. And he never radioed to Trump's team, get him off the stage.
Wow.
That's messed up.
Harold,
That's bad right there. That's like when they saw people running with guns towards a certain spot and they still didn't stop it. That's pretty bad. Tracy J. Norby, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, you're absolutely right, Joel. We need Elon Musk, RFK, Vivek, JD Vance to lead the country. Dan Bongino, Secret Service head office too. Godspeed and let's go, Trump. Let's go. Everybody show Tracy some love in the chat. No, I 100% agree that it's been a failure. Everybody knew it. Now we have the report. Now I'd like to know, what are they actually going to do about it? Because there's failures with the border, there's failures with the Secret Service, there's failures when it comes to the economy and foreign policy, but I want to know who's getting fired. Let me know your thoughts, because it is just, it's enough is enough. We need to see some change with the leadership. And right now, things are not looking good for Harris. Her poll numbers, all this stuff, they're not looking good because, remember, Trump has a silent minority that votes for him. Check this out.
Markers, Kamala Harris's campaign is in bigger trouble. Number one, she is doing something so obviously counterintuitive right now. You know it's being done out of a sense of panic. She's talking about a trip to the border. Why the hell would Kamala Harris want to take a trip to the border when she's the border czar with an open border that is the number one or number two issue concerning every American? The answer is the internal polls in the Harris campaign, folks, must be 1,000 times worse than the polls you're seeing publicly. So this is nothing more than a Hail Mary. Even, who is it, Mark Penn, who's a Democrat pollster, was like, what is she doing? Like, why bring attention to this issue? Second, she's releasing another economic plan. Of course, there aren't going to be any specifics. The thing's going to be... But she's releasing this plan because, again, the internals on her campaign must be 1,000 times worse than what you're seeing publicly. Third, another sign she's in deep. She now wants a CNN debate. She won't debate on Fox, but she's desperate for another debate. Her campaign, the fake AstroTurf gaslighting, ladies and gentlemen, is over. When New York Times, Siena, and Quinnipiac, which have all been pretty friendly to Democrats over the last few election cycles, are sounding the alarm about Kamala Harris, you know you're in trouble. I want you to listen to this Fox Martha McCallum clip on a New York Times Siena poll. She's in real trouble, folks. Check this out.
The crucial battleground states, he now leads Vice President Harris by 5 in Arizona. Remember, Arizona was just down to, tens of thousands of votes. Very slim margin in 2020. He trailed by 5 last month in Arizona. So that's a move in the New York Times Siena College poll to his benefit. He is up 2 points in North Carolina right now after trailing there by 2 in August. And he is hanging on to his 4-point lead in the state of Georgia.
Go. I can't say this enough, man. The guy runs between...
Virginia Lamb, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, I'm so thankful for you, Joel. Keep up the fantastic and any work you do. Let's go. Hey, everybody, show Virginia and Tracy some love in the chat.
9 and 5 points ahead, or 5 and 9 points ahead of every national poll. Is it silent Trump voters? I got a clip I'm hopefully going to get to tomorrow on the show about that. How a number of voters now are saying, I don't like Trump, but I liked his policies. Those are the people in polls who I guarantee you are either hanging up the phone when they're asked the question because they can't reconcile not liking him with having to vote for him because they know he's better. Do you get what I'm saying? They can't tell anyone. They're not ready. But I'm telling you, when they go in the voting booth, cha-ching, they're going to vote for Trump. He is going to outperform his polls by probably 4 to 6 points. I have zero doubt. Remember also, the national polling means nothing. If national polling from New York Times, Siena, and Quinnipiac has Kamala Harris tied or even ahead by 1, and Trump runs 3-4 points ahead, there is absolutely zero math for her to win.
Not at all.
I don't want to hear it. I'm just telling you, she is in panic mode. Folks, I'm always candid with you. I don't have the deep sourcing I did on other campaigns, especially Obama's. You probably figured that out. I don't have as deep a sourcing on Harris as I did on Biden either, where I could always get kind of the inside take from people who know people.
Mm-hmm.
But the sources I have are not terrible. Panic is breaking out. They are in legit trouble. Here's Chris Coons, who's one of, I guess, our surrogates, a senator from Delaware, just a goofball. Here he is on CNBC, and he doesn't have an answer again for the Kamala Harris economic plan. And folks, listen to me. This is the most important takeaway from this segment, why Kamala's in trouble. Voters hate a vacuum. They hate it. Voters, they don't like a vacuum. They need something to vote for, anything.
Yes.
Undecideds. Communists are going to vote commie. Hardcore Democrats are going to vote Harris. I get that. Undecided voters, you have to give them something. Kamala Harris will not answer anything on the death penalty, on guns, nothing on the economy. So here's Chris Coons, and what does he do? Tries to blame Trump. But here's the problem they're having. Trump isn't a vacuum. Everybody remembers what the Trump presidency was like.
100%.
And he's out in front of the cameras every day. Nobody likes a vacuum. She can't possibly win like this. And this is why she's making those 3 changes. Check this out.
Do you believe that they deserve to know specific details about her economic plan? Should you know what your tax rate is going to be, or at least what she believes your tax rate should be, before you go to the polls? Should you know what the regulatory sort of regime in her perfected world would look like? I think these are sort of singular important questions. And you could say, maybe you're not supposed to know these things, but I think that's what people want to understand.
She's laid out a broad vision for what are her priorities. And I think your average American voters got to look at the chaos, the unpredictability, the sort of careening around the field of the former president.
Folks.
Guys, let me tell you this. I've got something to show you. It's going to blow your mind. I do want to say thank you so much to Tracy J. Norby again for the blessed super chat. She said, if you look at where it all starts, start at the top. Who leads the country? What's second? Harris's. Then it's all the rest of the swamp who actually are steering the bus here. Think about it. I 100% agree, because watch this. This is as bad as you get. She never answers a question. When talking to her, she did her first solo interview. It's like talking to a 3-year-old. I'm not joking. Listen to this.
Expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share.
Do you realize what just happened? This is like me talking to my 3-year-old. I tell her, Mamas, no, you can't do that. You can't go out there. But Daddy, I want to do it. No, you can't. This is this and this and that. But Daddy, I want to do it. We have to do it. No, you can't. She literally just said, what if you can't raise the corporate taxes and the GOP gets the Senate? What are you going to do to raise the money? Are you going to borrow it? We're going to raise the corporate taxes. We have to raise the corporate tax. Can't comprehend what the question is actually being asked. And this is the person who's supposed to run the country, the free world. Are you kidding me? This is how bad it is for the Democrats. Listen to this.
What he's describing is a vacuum. Let me give you the glossary to Democrat euphemisms. She's laid out a broad vision. She has a broad vision, meaning she said absolutely nothing specifically on any issue that actually matters. So what happens? Voters fill in the blanks. Trump is not a vacuum.
No.
You don't have to like him, but a lot of people remember times being a lot better in the Trump administration. That's why she is in a world of electoral pain right now. If we execute and you go out and bring 10 people with you, I see very little chance she pulls through. How bad does it have to be? Did you see this clip on CBS? If this doesn't open your eyes, I don't know what will. Don't tell me signs don't matter. I ran for office. If you go back and listen to my pre-election episode in 2016, I think it's only on SoundCloud or maybe Apple or something. I don't even know if it's still there. I predicted Donald Trump winning. It's not because I'm some genius or the Stygian witches. Folks, I was in Florida. I was running for office. There were Trump signs everywhere, folks, everywhere. This stuff matters. It shows a level of
100%.
grassroots support. Here's a CBS commentator having to acknowledge they drove through this area. It was all Trump signs. Check this out.
When we drove through those cornfields, just about every line had a Trump sign.
Yeah.
Flags everywhere, billboards everywhere, Trump campaign offices almost on every other block.
Folks, this is CBS Mornings, man. You see how all of this other stuff is AstroTurf? Look at his favorability thing you see with Kamala Harris. This was an MSNBC thing. Kamala Harris's favorability, 28% on January of 2024. The lowest number ever recorded for a vice presidential candidate. Absolutely nothing has changed. She is the same radical, failed, incompetent, no leadership skills having loser. She's always...
When you see this is how you can tell the media, the Democrats, they're gaslighting. 28% approval rating, lowest out of any vice president ever. And just because she gets the nomination, now she's 48%. That's why you got to be careful with the polls and what you see, because it's all being controlled by the people up here.
Spin. And all of a sudden, what? Her approval rate is 48%. One, I don't believe it. I don't believe that number at all. But second, it shows you as this is starting to collapse now, which it is, as the polls are starting to reflect it, that was all media AstroTurf. Sooner or later, Harris has to give them something. You know, they put out a skeleton out there. Kamala Harris is great. We told you about it. She has to go put skin and muscle on it. And 100%. She couldn't do it. She totally failed. Yeah, our favorability rating, even, the first time it was lower than it is now.
Lower than it is now. And now she's done this first interview. You can't even make up how bad this is and how, watch the body language, because I want you to see this. You can tell when somebody's lying. If I'm shaking my head like this, this means no. This means yes, right? That's normal. We know that. When she's saying her answers during the entire interview, she's doing this. Her body can't even agree with what she's saying because she knows that it's a lie. Check this out.
2 months for Kamala Harris to finally sit down for her first solo interview on a major news network. And she decided to do the interview with this lady.
Kamala Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
I think the problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything. Okay?
You know his answer to everything.
Kamala heard that and said, "What are you doing Wednesday?" Stephanie Ruhle is a business analyst on NBC. She's a Trump hater. And the interview focused on the economy, something Kamala can't talk about because if she said what her plan was, she'd lose in a landslide.
For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have...
Do you see her body language? This is what I was telling you about. Look, she's saying if you're hardworking, her body is literally conflicted with her own answers.
The dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do. you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition, we have aspirations, we have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic, but not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. My vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions. I come from the middle class. Look, my mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard. She saved up. By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. And, you know, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. You know, gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream.
Did you see the interviewer smirk? She's like, man, will she shut up and just give me a straight answer? That's literally what her face just said.
Was just asked about her policies. She rambled and then said the American dream is gone. She's been in power for 4 years and said the American dream's gone. She just sank her campaign. But that was just the beginning.
How do you go after price gouging without implementing price controls? Because once we get in this zone, people start to get worried and they say, I don't know what she stands for.
So, just to be very frank, I am never going to apologize for going after companies and corporations that take advantage of the desperation of the American people. Yeah, I'm going to go after them. Yes, I'm going to go after them.
So price controls are still on the table. That's not going to fly in this country.
No.
What about trade policy?
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, I'm going to, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues.
Are you serious?
And one must be serious and have a plan, and a real plan that's not just about some talking point ending in an exclamation at a political rally, but actually putting the thought into what will be the return on the investment, what will be the economic impact on everyday people.
They just asked her what her trade plan was. She never answered and then said Trump doesn't have one. And then never explained what her plan was. Trump's not serious about trade. He's deadly serious. He won a trade war with China, passed the new NAFTA deal, signed new trade deals with South Korea and Japan. He used tariffs to bring countries to the negotiating table. And we had a great economy with no inflation. I don't know if Kamala Harris knows this, but the Biden-Harris administration kept Trump's tariffs on China, then increased them. Kamala was then asked how she's going to help Americans buy homes they can't afford since inflation drove mortgage rates so high.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars, and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
I have no idea what she just said. I have no idea. But it sounds like she's going to print more money and give it away. Then Kamala was asked, how's she going to pay for all of these handouts?
Giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share.
But how do you find that line to make sure corporations are paying their fair share, but they're not leaving our country?
Well, listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I have spent a lot of time with CEOs, and I'm going to tell you that the business leaders who are actually part of the engine of America's economy agree that people should pay their fair share.
Again, she didn't answer the question. Even if she raises taxes on everybody, it still won't pay for the trillions she wants to spend. Obama already raised taxes, and the middle class got hammered.
Yes.
Obama raised taxes, and corporations left the country and took their factories with them. That's how Trump got elected. How is she going to stop companies from leaving? Because she knows a bunch of CEOs? Their lobbyists are just going to write loopholes in the bill that she signs. After the interview, Stephanie Ruhle called Harris a dodger.
Here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from?
And did y'all see that? I'm glad that they did this op-ed right after for this lady to give her point of view, to say, look, she don't answer the dang questions. Like, how is she supposed to be running for president? I asked her blatant questions. She doesn't answer them. And if you didn't know, guys, I hate it when they say pay their fair share. If you didn't know, but almost 75% of the entire income taxes that are paid to the federal government in the United States is paid by the top 10% of the United States. So 10%, the top 10% pay 75% of all the federal income taxes. So they always try to make rich people the enemy. No, the enemy is the politicians who are career politicians who are not held accountable.
And the interview was just as staged as all of her answers. There's a sander with no sawdust in the back and a ladder in the middle of nowhere. What's that doing there? No idea.
What does that even mean?
Today, Trump in North Carolina is zeroing in on American working men and women. He's been much more disciplined the last week and a half, more upbeat and more focused on the future.
The centerpiece of my plan for a manufacturing renaissance will be a 15% made in America tax rate. I'm imposing tariffs on your competition from foreign countries that have ripped us off, which stole all of your businesses and all of your jobs years ago and took your businesses out, so that now they won't be able to compete with North Carolina. All of your furniture makers are going to come back bigger and stronger and better than ever before. This is why people in countries want to kill me. They're not happy with me. It's a risky business.
That's the kind of swagger and attitude from 2016, remember? Fight for the little guy, America First trade policy that puts money in your pocket and doesn't give foreigners a free ride. The Europeans have a 25% tariff on American whiskey. They have a 10% tariff on American cars. Meanwhile, America lets all the European wine and cars come in here duty-free.
Wow.
While our Navy protects their shipping and our nukes protect their safety. The Europeans don't spend any money on their militaries, so they spend it on lavish social safety nets because we pay to protect them. Your tax dollars. We had this arrangement after World War II because their economies were devastated.
Wow.
So we opened up our market to help them recover, and in exchange created this network of alliances against Soviet communism. But the Cold War is over, and this isn't fair to the American taxpayer or the American worker.
To the workers of this state, when you hear Kamala Harris attack my tariffs today, you wouldn't have anything left in this state if I didn't do what I did. This building would be now shuttered, closed, empty, no jobs, and now it's thriving. Just remember, Kamala's not attacking me. She's attacking your furniture jobs. She's attacking your communities. She's attacking your factories. And she's trying to send all of those jobs to China with everything else. And we're not going to let that happen.
Kamala Harris is still pushing globalization after it gutted our jobs and factories. So what is exactly the vice president's economic agenda? Massive welfare checks to buy starter homes? It's only going to trigger more inflation and drive home prices higher.
Wow.
She wants to build more homes, but she spent $7 trillion and she only was able to build 7 car chargers. I'm going to go with the guy who builds for a living. She wants to tax unrealized gains. That idea was laughed out of the room. She wants price controls, again, laughed out of the room. The rest is your typical tax and spend, San Francisco socialist garbage that doesn't work, never has. after 5 days off, Kamala delivered, as they build it, a big economic speech today. And primetime producers watched it, so I didn't have to. And they told me she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything new, nothing, no new policy, nothing. And the New York Times agreed with Jesse Watters' primetime, saying she revealed little new about her economic pitch. She just came with the same empty slogans.
I call my vision the opportunity economy.
What I imagine and believe and call an opportunity economy.
Developing and creating an opportunity economy. I intend to create an opportunity economy.
Why do we need an opportunity economy if
Crunk Juice, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, they say, I lived in Germany and you never saw U.S. cars nowhere unless you were in the military. Trump has a point. I'm telling you guys, America has been getting screwed by a lot of these countries, and it wasn't until Trump stepped in, started making NATO pay their fair share, that we actually started getting some leeway, and then Biden threw it all out the door. Show Crunk Juice some love in the chat, everybody.
economics is working? Shouldn't we already have opportunity? Shouldn't she just be running on let's keep going? Well, she is, but she can't say that because everybody knows where we're going is in the wrong direction. Kamala isn't saying how she's going to help. She's just saying she grew up just like you.
I grew up in a middle-class family.
I grew up a middle-class kid.
I grew up a middle-class kid. I was raised as a middle-class kid.
But how middle class is she? Kamala was raised in Berkeley, California, by parents with PhDs, one of the nicer neighborhoods in San Francisco. She spent her weekends in Palo Alto, went to private schools, lived in a nice little neighborhood in Montreal, took trips to Jamaica, and then once claimed she worked at McDonald's without any evidence.
We don't want to hear Kamala's fake promises, even something like she worked very long and hard hours over French fries at McDonald's. It was a lie. She never worked at McDonald's over the hot French fries. I think I'm going to a McDonald's in 2 weeks, actually, and I'm going to work the French fries because I will have worked longer and harder at McDonald's than she did if I do that even for half an hour.
Wow.
Even people working at McDonald's were better off under Donald Trump than Biden-Harris. Americans got a $7,000 raise under Trump and haven't gotten a raise since. But the Biden-Harris people are saying Americans just have a bad memory.
Americans, when you ask the question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago, many Americans misremember just how bad the economy was 4 years ago and how strong our economic recovery from the pandemic has been.
Are you
we're
kidding
being
me?
sick of being told that we don't realize how good we have it. Our memories are shot, crime's down, borders secure. We're sick of it. It's actually making traditional Democrats consider the unthinkable.
Shantae Milano Willis isn't sold. Isn't sure the vice president is up to the top job.
I've been a Democrat my entire adult life. This has actually been the first year where I was considering voting Republican.
Her mother isn't happy.
Never thought she'd see a black person president in her life. She did. Now, Kamala Harris is for president. My mother says she don't care what she does, let's just get her in there. And I simply don't feel the same.
Kamala's only pretending to fight for you because she knows she's losing you. If she cared, she would have done all the things she's promising to do.
Kamala goes to work every day in the White House. Families are suffering now. So if she has a plan, she should stop grandstanding and do it. Just do it. You have a few months left. Do it.
Just do it. That's the crazy thing, and that's where you just can't believe her. Tracy J. Norby again with the super chat. Thank you so much. He says, hope Harris gets smashed by a landslide come November. She can't function as VP. If you ask me, she's worse at it to help our open borders. Keep the good work, Joel. Thanks. Hey, show Tracy some love in the chat, everybody. Let me tell you this. You know how bad it's getting? It's getting so bad with the illegal immigration that it's made its way to the point where Congress is about to pass a bill to fix the housing crisis that we're in because of the dang illegal immigration. Check this out.
Agree with it or not, if you admit 10 to 12 foreign nationals illegal into your country, all of whom need housing, does that make the cost of home ownership go up?
You know, I think that all of these questions and all of these inputs to housing costs.
What about first about illegal immigration? Does that increase demand for housing and make the cost of home ownership go up?
I think that's a distributional question. I think the question we're here to talk about today
is, but does it make the cost of home ownership go up?
We're here to talk about housing supply today.
We're here to talk about home ownership and the cost of owning a home.
100%. Crunk Juice, thank you so much for the super chat. He said the travesty is that over 300,000 children are missing from the border. Harris should be disqualified for that alone. I 100% agree. Everybody show some love to Crunk Juice in the chat. I just want to know what Crunk Juice tastes like. I'm just wondering.
You're a bright man. Does that make the cost of home ownership go up when you increase demand that much?
I think that's a distributional question.
You don't want to admit it, do you?
I think that's a distributional question, and the problem that we're facing is
with all due
housing
respect,
supply.
I think you're being disingenuous.
Ooh.
Let me ask you, Mr. Pinto, if you increase immigration by 11 million people, does that increase the cost of home ownership?
Senator, yes. We've tried to figure out what that impact is.
I mean, duh.
Yeah, but the federal government doesn't publish where they're distributing these individuals around the country, so we can't do the kinds of experiments that we normally do.
It causes home ownership to go up in some places.
But we can't figure out exactly what it is. We'd love to.
I'm not
we
here
need
to
the
play
data.
games. I'm here to try to get some answers.
But if you could get more data, that would be great.
I'm sorry?
If you could get the data released by the federal government as to where.
I'll give you some data.
Ooh.
Mortgage rates are up 123%.
Get them.
Premiums for homeowners are up 16%. The average electricity bill in America is up 28%. That affects the cost of home ownership. No wonder people can't buy a home. This dollar, thanks to President Biden and Vice President Harris's inflation, they've been inflation machines. This dollar was worth $1 when President Biden and Vice President Harris took office. It's worth 75 cents today.
That's true.
That's the fundamental problem with home ownership. The other problem is government regulation. Look, the HUD and the USDA recently adopted the International Energy Conservation Code. Do any of you know what that is? Okay, well, I'm not going to ask you because it's going to take time. They recently adopted the International Energy Conservation Code put out by the International Code Council. And the Biden-Harris administration just said, they just told HUD and the USDA to adopt it. So if you want a HUD or USDA loan or access to the housing assistance, you've got to build a home that complies with the International Energy Conservation Code. You know how much it's going to add to the price of a new home? $31,835. Are you kidding me?
Wow. Lubito, so thank you so much for the super chat. Show Lubito some love in the chat, everybody.
You know how much energy you're going to save?
Senator Kennedy, you're well into Senator Padilla's time now.
$7.
Wow. Did you hear that? So the Biden-Harris administration, to appease whatever, just passed this thing that's going to add $31,000 price to the cost of every new home because we're trying to follow some code, and it's only going to save you $650. Are you kidding me? This is how bad people are fed up with the immigration problem. Listen to this. This is a council meeting that's happening all across America right now. Check this out.
Wanted to come to address the fact that our schools really cannot take on any more students, especially students that don't speak English. Our teachers, our schools are maxed out. Our teachers are at capacity. I was at my son's baseball game when I listened to what you were saying, and I want to remind everyone why we're here. We're here because of a letter that you signed. We're not here because we're incompassionate or we don't have feelings or we don't care about people. And you know what? All I could think of when you were talking is that you are gaslighting every single one of us.
Right
so I'm
there.
going to read a little piece of the letter that you signed. We continually hear from our constituents that they believe in and support refugee resettlement, from greeting refugee families at the airport to assisting with English language classes or navigating bus lines. Our communities stand welcome. I don't remember you asking anybody that's here how they felt about that. And you signed a letter on behalf of your position representing our city. And that is a huge problem for me. If you're gonna sign a letter like that and you represent our city, then you need to ask the constituents how they feel about it. And yeah, Fairhope's probably not gonna be inundated, but Foley and Silver Hill and Somerdale, and we've got a lot of communities. And what she was saying about being in a car accident,
right here.
in December, I was in a terrible car accident with my 2 children and my friend's daughter in the car. And I was hit by an illegal immigrant in Baldwin County that did not receive a ticket, that did not go to jail. He had no car insurance. And I called the police department to ask why. Why, if I were to do that without a driver's license or car insurance, I would have been arrested. My car would have been towed. So they tell me that they can go to the DMV and they can get tags for their vehicle and they can also get car insurance without a driver's license right here in Baldwin County. My son and my daughter and myself were injured in that accident. I had to pay for everything out of my own pocket.
Wow.
And so if you're inviting people here, then they need to follow our laws too. Okay? Because we all follow our laws. We pay our taxes, we pay for our car insurance, and they need to do the same. So
that's literally happening all across America. She was in a car wreck. Nothing happens to the illegal. She's got to pay out of her own pocket for all these damages and hospital bills and all this stuff. And it's just wrong. Americans are getting treated like crap right now because the administration is choosing votes over its own citizens. The British Perspective, thank you so much for the super chat. Everyone, show the British Perspective some love in the chat. They say, be unburdened by the truth. This is why we do this show. We want to bring you the truth. We want to show you what's actually happening behind the scenes with real people doing living real life, and that's the problem where we're in right now because it's getting even worse. Illegal immigrant crime is getting worse. Check this out.
Reports of violent crime at the hands of illegal immigrants on your local news programs, and then it becomes bigger after that. That's because with more than 10 million people that we can account for, that's not including the gotaways and so on and so forth, who have come across our southern border under the Biden-Harris leadership, this type of crime could happen anywhere across the country. Wealthy neighborhoods now are no exception. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, just arrested 4 illegal immigrants on the wealthy island of Nantucket, all in just 48 hours. The suspects are charged with raping or sexually assaulting children or adults on the island.
Wow.
Over the last month, the feds also arrested 2 additional illegal immigrants in Massachusetts, one on Martha's Vineyard, who was charged with raping a minor. Another arrested near Boston was convicted of having child sexual abuse material. Former acting ICE Director Tom Homan.
There's no vetting process. They say you vet these people, but American people need to know. We don't have access to other countries' criminal databases. We don't know who they are or what criminal record they are. If they come from El Salvador, Guatemala, or Venezuela, we don't have access to that information. So when we take your fingerprints and run them, we're running them against our databases. So vetting process is terrible, and that's why we keep seeing these criminals come to our attention that were released by this administration.
Tom always explains it. You can't forget what he says.
Wow.
In St. Louis, Missouri, police charged an illegal immigrant in the killing of an officer. The suspect is accused of fatally hitting the cop with his car while drunk driving. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina is a member of the House Oversight, Armed Services, and Veterans Affairs Committees. First of all, I just want to gather from you now the latest movement on this, now that we are seeing more of this type of crime.
Right. No, absolutely. And in fact, just last week, Harris, 158 Democrats voted against my bill, the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act, that would deport these criminal illegal aliens who are raping our women, who are pedophiles, and who are murdering our women and girls, just as you cited in Nantucket and other places. Every town has become a border town. Every state has become a border state. And I right now am taking on one of my local county sheriffs who has ignored ICE, who's allowed over 50 criminal illegal aliens out onto the street of South Carolina, including one alleged pedophile as recently as August. They get arrested and they get released. This is not the American way. They need to go. They need to be deported out of our country immediately. And that's what my bill would do. But we had 158 Democrats vote against it last week. It's insane.
All right, I want to get into it. It's all of a sudden hotlined in the Senate.
Yep.
And it is H.R. 7909, Violence Against Women by Illegal Alien Act. And it's fast track now. First of all, tell me how that happens, and just so the broader audience understands this term of hotlined inside the Senate, your bill.
Right. When a bill passes out of the House, it goes over to the Senate, and any senator can, quote, hotline the bill and fast track it for a vote. Now, what a senator can do anonymously, and I expect it to happen this week, is, quote, put their name on the bill and prevent it from going to a vote in the Senate. If that happens, I would hope and I would encourage any senator in the Senate chamber to go to the floor and do a unanimous consent request to get it voted out of the Senate. So again, I expect it to be prevented from going to a vote, but I think we should try everything we can, every tool in the toolbox in the Senate to get it to the president's desk to be signed into law.
Look, this is probably an obvious question, but the title is Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act.
Right.
Who would be against that?
Right. I want to force a Democrat to go on record in the Senate and vote against it or vote it down. That's what we should be doing. Otherwise, it should go immediately to the desk of Joe Biden to be signed into law. If your motto is, we care about all women, show us how you care about American women and girls.
All right.
Did you hear that? Like, literally, you have Democrats that vote against this, that if an illegal commits a crime like that they're automatically deported. We don't want to deal with it. It's not fair. They're illegal. They're not even here legally. And yet the Democrats voted it down. Tell me where their priorities are at, because that's not fair to American citizens. It's not fair to American women. And it just blows my mind that we have such, the mentality is not America first in what we're seeing now. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And just want to say thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel. The link is in the description to join, and we are on a mission to do some good in this world. Our goal is 10,000 members, and we're going to get there, I promise. And just want to say thank you to everybody that gives a thumbs up. If you haven't, please hit that thumbs up like button. And also to everybody that has blessed us with the super chat. I want to give some shout outs. Tracy J. Norby, so amazing. Virginia Lem, Marty Evans, new member. Crunk Juice. We're going to have to get some of that on the channel. Hey, you send me some Crunk Juice. The British Perspective, Lubita. Thank y'all so much for blessing us. We are here to serve you. We're in unprecedented times. There's so much going on, and we just want to make sure you're taken care of. We love each and every one of y'all, and just want to say that True Life is going to bring the truth. We're going to bring the news from wherever it comes from, as long as it's the truth. and we're here to serve you. We love you. We thank you. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.